Alright divers, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday morning, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Subnautica 2. There's been a lot of new information, details, and just gameplay things we need to talk about coming to Subnautica 2 that I really wanted to go over in this video so players are kind of caught up to speed with information circulating around Subnautica. First, we're going to be talking about the generative AI because there has been some generative AI news. We did recently see some system requirements for Subnautica 2, and some players are not necessarily happy about that. You've also seen a little bit of Krafton Drama resurfacing, but the developers are putting that to rest. We also got more news on the Xbox Gamepass, which is super big. And then finally, players have been a little bit concerned about the early access period for Subnautica 2. But yeah, we're going to talk about all that in this video. But keep in mind, if you want to stay up to date on all things Subnautica 2, make sure to drop a like as well as follow the channel. There's going to be a lot of Subnautica news in the next coming days, so you want to make sure you stay tuned here on the channel. With that, let's dive into the news. All right, first things first, let's talk about the Xbox Game Pass because it is confirmed if you head over to the Xbox store page that Subnautica 2 will be available on Xbox Game Pass. It is live. Now, this is information we kind of already knew beforehand that Subnautica 2 was going to be a Xbox Game Pass game, but as of the last day or so, we've actually got confirmation because the website have actually put it up that Subnautica is going to be a game that it's going to be early access, but still going to be on the Xbox Game Pass. This is super great for players who want to jump in. We already know the game isn't going to be complete. The game's only been in development for about 3 years at this point, which is significantly less than what we usually expect from a game of this size, which is usually about 5 or so years. So being able to give players the option to jump in and try it out on Game Pass is super great. I'm glad to see it's actually confirmed. So for early access, which I'm thinking day one, we should see it on Game Pass. Now, while we're talking about Steam and Steam pages and games being moved up, there was some recent drama when it came to Unknown World and Krafton. Recently over on the Steam page, if we go take a look at it now, you'll notice that it's developed and published by Unknown World Entertainment, which obviously if you've been following Subnautica or just gaming in general for the past year or so, there's been a ton of drama with Krafton. And while in my opinion, I think the drama has definitely settled down with the $250 million lawsuit and all this kind of crazy stuff, it does look like, though they are removed from the page, Krafton themselves is saying, hey, we're still here to support the game. And, while they're not necessarily on the Steam page, the team is definitely there backing. I think the reason why, if I had to make an educated guess, why the page is like this, Unknown Worlds Entertainment is not saying published by Krafton, it's just better for the game, I think, just not to have Krafton up there because, of the drama and it creates drama. It's much simpler and much easier to just have them on the Steam page and say, hey, look, it's just Unknown World Entertainment, even if Krafton is the ones backing them. I do feel like they've gotten to the point where the drama is going to be moving on. There's not really much of that anymore. The game's releasing in 10 days from now, which is crazy, at least into early access. There's going to be years of support for it. I don't really see the drama happening anymore. But yeah, for those who are wondering, Krafton is still help publishing. They're still supporting them, and the team seems to be working side and side, hand in hand with each other. So just, yeah. Now with that, we actually want to talk a little bit about some good news because, we always need to hear some good news. Now recently there was an article published by, I believe, Industry Applications. They actually had to sit down in a talk with the Subnautica 2 developers, and it does look like the devs have confirmed there will be no generative AI present in Subnautica 2. Now, I know for a lot of players do not want to see AI slop in their video games. I know a lot of teams like to use generative AI for placeholder, which makes a lot of sense, especially when you're like trying to get concepts and things going. And of course, you're gonna eventually remove it, which we've seen a lot of games do it. Crimson Desert recently did it. If I'm not mistaken, Blueprints had some generative AI. Clear Obscure, Expedition 33, pretty much every game in the current market, like they're either doing it or they're just not disclosing they're doing it. Everyone's using some form of generative AI. So it does look like the devs themselves are saying there will be no generative AI. So all the artwork, concept art, everything that we've seen from Subnautica 2 should be, no generative AI. So I think that's a massive positive. So finally, let's talk about early access because a lot of players, seemingly, especially from Reddit, are a little bit upset that the game is releasing into early access. Now, the main argument, or at least the main discussion, is the game Subnautica 1 was extremely successful. It seems kind of weird that a studio is releasing to early access, especially after having such a successful launch for Subnautica 1. Why is that happening? I kind of want to talk a little bit about that because there's a lot of logical reasons why that's happening. First off, as I said earlier today, Subnautica 2 is releasing into early access after 3 years of development. From what we can tell from Subnautica 2, the information, what the devs have said, the streams and things of the sort, it's pretty obvious that a game of this caliber and this size needs a lot more time, right? That's really important. Subnautica 2, once again, has been in development for 3 years. I think a game like this size, magnitude, is usually about 5 years. So that's a whole 2 years of development time that they didn't have. The other thing is, and this is something I'm really important to keep in mind, the team is very driven by the community's feedback. There has been a lot of things that weren't supposed to be in Subnautica that came to Subnautica purely because of player feedback, like exploration of certain systems, food and water systems, certain things like that wasn't actually meant to be in the game, but because players provided good quality feedback, of course, they added those kind of things. So while I definitely to some degree understand the argument of, hey, look, the game has been successful, they had an extremely successful Subnautica 1, why are we getting an early access for Subnautica 2? That makes an extreme amount of sense to, actually give them time to develop the game a little bit more, as well as get player feedback, because obviously the team has always been a community driven kind of game. They always make their games with their community in mind, so it makes a lot of sense. With that said, there are some really cool confirmations that we can go over that has come to light recently. There will be confirmation. The team has already confirmed that there will be test branches for Subnautica 2. I don't think that's going to be something like day one, like launch, maybe even a few updates, but there will be a test branch for players to actually jump in and test future updates coming to Subnautica 2 to give them some feedback, which is obviously great. From what I can tell from what the team have said, it does look like they are prepping for mod support. I mean, it's probably going to be inevitable. There's going to be modding coming to the game. So for my modders out there, or people who really want to add mods to Subnautica 2, the team obviously seemed prepared for those things, so there should be a modding scene. Regardless, that's pretty much it for that. One to kind of silence the early access nonsense. Of course, the game was successful, but it is important for the team to get some feedback for Subnautica 2, because that's, in my opinion, how you make a great game. Not just listen to yourself, but listen to the people who you're making the game for, in my opinion. But that's just me. Regardless, guys, that's gonna be pretty much it for the new information for Subnautica 2, at least for today. As always, guys, I will be trying to keep you up to date as we get closer and closer to the launch, which is about 10 days from releasing this video. If you have any comments, questions, or just anything to do with Subnautica, feel free to leave them down below. I'll try to add those questions to the end of my next video so we can just have a little bit more of a discussion about Subnautica 2. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. As always, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to show your support by dropping a like, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Subnautica 2 coverage. With that, guys, my name is Fervor. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next Subnautica 2 video very soon.